From Rich and Rudy to Tina and Colby to Billy and Candace to Tony and Sarah. Internet, my name is Peridiam, and welcome to the most powerful duos in Survivor history. I don't expect everyone to agree with me here. I've changed my top 5 more than, 5 times in the making of this video. I've got my reasons, but before I get to them, I want to know yours. Who do you think are the most powerful duos we've ever seen, and why? Starting off at number 5, I've settled on the duo of Todd and Amanda from season 15 China. And I think you'll find there are some circumstances where you could say why not include Courtney and consider them a trio, and I would, and they were, but it was Todd and Amanda who were running the show. Courtney was tagging along, wanting to quit, just being a number, and I can draw the line at TNA being a dynamic duo given the state of the game and the circumstances around how the season played out. I say all of this because it's gonna apply to almost every duo in this top 5. They all took part in greater alliances beyond the two of them, like an onion. They had layers, such as with Courtney, then Denise and James, followed by Jean Robert. Todd and Amanda linked up in the first episode alongside Aaron, and they were running the tribe. They easily booted Leslie in the pre-merge, followed by Sharia at the swap, and once they were in control of both idols, it was lights out for the rest of the cast. Todd thought outside the box with his idol strategy to procure James an idol from across the pond. Meanwhile, Amanda laid the groundwork to eventually blindside James when he was holding 2 idols at the final 7. They even had Frosty and Sharia in their pocket too, which led PG and Jamie to decide to abandon throwing the second challenge of the swap where they were trying to get James out, and when all was said and done, go figure, they're both in the final 3. An immense amount of power all season. I had to include them in this top 5 for all of Survivor.
And on day 1, an important alliance was formed between Todd and Amanda.
I will stick with you. Because you know
you're my loyal alliance too.
Okay.
Everyone thinks that I've been a quiet player. Well, I've been quiet because it's been part of my strategy.
I wasn't the strongest, I wasn't the smartest, but I was definitely the most strategic.
The number 4 duo was originally higher, but I have a better case to make for number 3 being above them, as I am talking about JT and Steven from season 18 Token Genes. They're number 4, and for good reason. They also linked up right away, formed several alliances in the pre-merge tribe to control the votes each episode. They had Joe and Spencer, which means they also had Sydney. They had Taj, who would go on to round out their near final 3. They held the idol all season. They even had cross-tribal alliances where Steven was connected with Brendan and Sierra in the Exile Alliance. It went nowhere, but the point is JT and Steven had options at every point in the game. They swung to keep Joe in the pre-merge. They called the shot to oust Brendan at the merge when the opposing Tambira tribe was fractured into multiple factions. They then had the power to swing the other way and blindside Tyson, only to keep Coach and Debbie and Aaron on their side and against one another. This balancing act between multiple groups from start to finish is impressive, and it's why I have them as high as number 4 after 44 seasons.
I'm not the physical competitor in challenges. I'm not the guy who's at ease in the wild. And for me to be sitting really close right now to $1 million, I think speaks a lot for me.
I'm no stupid country boy. I'm the hardest worker out here. I get things done, I fish, work, and I battle it out in the physical challenges. Then I come back and I start the social game.
Number 3. At one point, I had number 3 as high as number 2, and then number 5, but I've settled for 3rd as I'm talking about Parvati and Amanda from season 16 Micronesia, fans versus favorites. Most of these duos have several things in common. They didn't face much adversity in the pre-merge, some barely voted at all, but then were set up so well come the merge, the ball was in their court, and they just completely seized every opportunity to put themselves in the best position until the end. Parv and Amanda were united from day 1, entering the season in a strange spot, competing against returning players who had Parv's number high up on their kill list. But they also worked their magic to convince Sari to join them as a 3rd in an alliance of 5, securing the votes for the pre-swap portion of the season. It was the women controlling the game, and they held the power. The swap splits Parvati and Amanda, but this gives them ample time to accrue soldiers in their army, recruiting Natalie, Alexis, and Eric, giving them a massive 8-2 advantage at the merge. And this is where the duo truly really flex their chops. Every player eliminated in the order they go out is in the best interest of both Parv and Amanda. Eliza and the stick go first, followed by the blindside of Ozzy, followed by the blindside of Jason, followed by the blindside of Alexis, carefully crafted by the two women, and then Eric, with one of the most masterful moves of manipulation in Survivor history. And of course, yes, it goes without saying, Cirie was banking on a final 3, and by all means there would have been one in most cases, but there wasn't, and this allowed PNA to run the table to the bitter end. Again, I'm talking about layers here. Cirie was absolutely instrumental to this 2 reaching this final 2, but at the end of the day, she was a layer to this duo's core. Amanda was a beast in challenges, Parv was just a social monster, and everyone else became their victims until nobody was left standing. I mean, heck, of all the duos in the history of the show, at the top 5, Amanda has been featured twice now in this video, and that's not by accident. Case in point, refer to a previous video about things that we didn't see on camera. Once I learned Amanda was in on the Ozzy blindside the whole time, it was then I realized Amanda Kimmel is the Kaiser Soze of the Survivor world. The greatest trick Amanda ever pulled was convincing the world she wasn't that powerful. And then, unfortunately, also convincing the jury in back-to-back seasons she wasn't that powerful, but that's a different story for a different video topic, and either way, she reached the final 2 with her closest ally. That is what I'm looking for here. Jolly cooperation and a dollop of agency.
These guys just walk right into the Venus flytrap and they get eaten alive.
Yeah. We had this game in the palm of our hands since we met. And then the switch up, and then the craziness, and then it's still you and me.
Tonight we're going toe to toe, and one person's gonna win $1 million and the other person is gonna walk away with nothing. And may the best woman win.
Number 2 is almost certainly at the top of everyone's minds. They were a shoo-in when I sat down to consider who could make this top 5. I'm talking about Wendell and Dominic from season 36, Ghost Island, who I think some people may say should be even higher than number 2. Dom and Wendell hit the beach of Fiji and linked up in the premiere, trusting each other right away and working hand in hand. They only faced adversity at their first tribal at the first swap, where they were on the outs and lost Morgan, another ally of theirs. No doubt about it, this was definitely a setback, but from this point on, it was an all-out war to just run the table on the season. Similar to Parv and Amanda, they used the swap to build their army, bringing in Donathan and Laurel, maintaining the Navidi strong tribe unity, setting their sights on taking out their biggest opponents right away. At the merge, it appears as if the two guys are totally outnumbered when Chris leads the entire tribe to the well to talk about splitting the votes between Dom and Wendell. But go figure. The entire tribe votes against Chris, and this is just the beginning of the tour de force ahead of us. They take out Libby to counter an idol. They take out Desi to snuff any shot of a revolution occurring in the ranks. They turn their own allies against one another to guarantee control as the middlemen in the waning numbers. And although they do face some heat from Donathan toward the endgame when he turns on them for them clearly being sneaky and the frontrunners to win, it was all for naught, as they had amassed enough loyalty with the others, had enough idols in their possession to get creative with their gameplay, and couldn't even consider turning on each other as they were winning all of the immunity challenges en route to Final Tribal. I don't mind if a duo tries to turn on each other, but the amusing part with these two is they were so individually powerful they couldn't make it happen either way. Dominating all aspects of the game, go figure they each got 5 jury votes and had the first ever final vote tie, leading to their third number, Laurel, breaking it at the last second. 17 seasons prior in Samoa, Russell Hantz threatened Natalie White when he said that he would put her on the jury at the final 3 on day 39, and I didn't think that was possible. Yet, Dom and Wendell's games are so equally powerful, they made it happen.
I'm not gonna cry. I hate you. I hate you. Can we arm wrestle or something?
I was kind of like a silent assassin, quietly in control of this game. I found ways to connect with all these people, all the while they were sent to the jury based on my decisions, and I made it to the end.
Wendell scares the hell out of me. He's my biggest competition out here.
This Wendell guy is gonna give me trouble tonight, I know it.
I think we're gonna see an epic tribal council, and I know that it's gonna be one for the ages.
For the first time in 36 seasons of Survivor, we have a tie.
Before I get to number 1, a few honorable mentions come in the way of Tina and Colby from season 2, The Australian Outback, as well as Cochrane and Dawn in season 26, Caramoan. And then most of the names I mentioned at the top of the video too. Okay, hold on to your butts everyone, because believe it or not, I don't have Tony and Sarah from Winners at War at number 1. I think there's a lot to be said about their games as a duo, but I ultimately don't think there was as much power with them as the top 5 here. And I think that's fair. Season 40 was stacked, they had a lot going against them, and they still put up impressive games regardless of how they operated as a duo. And yeah, Kagiyan and Game Changers obviously don't count for this top 5 based on what happened. The most powerful duo in Survivor history is none other than from Season 8 All-Stars, it's Amber and Boston Rob. Some might say it may just be Rob as a solo performance, but Amber was pivotal to the power structure and how the game shook out, and without her, Rob doesn't have nearly as much success. Together, they established and orchestrated a season-defining alliance with several layers incorporated across the cast. They had Rupert, Jenna, Big Tom, Alicia, Kathy, Lex, Sue, and Rob C working with them. And they controlled the pre-swap, the post-swap, the merge tribes from day 1 to day 39. They even managed to outmaneuver the producers, who clearly stacked the swap against them when they had the players drop buffs in a particular order that led to Amber being completely screwed. But the love they had for each other as a couple took control and led to a deal being cut across tribal lines to ensure they would stay intact going into the merge. Look, you can say find me a guy who looks at the way that Dom looks at Wendell in Ghost Island, but honestly, find me somebody who sacrifices their game the way that Rob just did for Amber. Amber and Rob promise Lex safety. Lex protects Amber for a round and boots Jerry, and suddenly Rob and Amber have everyone on their side in the cast and eating out of the palm of their hands. All of these duos had options at every turn, and these two lovebirds were no different. And they were doing it on a season with all returning players no less. Amber played good cop to Rob's bad, and it gave her the win, but either way of the outcome, they were guaranteed the title come the end. They trimmed the fat with Lex, Kathy, and Cheyenne going, cut Alicia around early, and still retained their control, managed to turn Big Tom and Rupert against one another at the pivotal Final 5 vote, where they could have easily been outnumbered. And they were able to get Jenna to vote out Rupert at the Final 4. And you know what? If nothing else, they were the most obvious duo in Survivor history from day 1. Heck, even before the season began. And yet, they made the Final 2 all the same. The most adversity they faced was from bad luck on the producer's part, and they still overcame that by pulling strings. I always had them at number 1 on this list, and it's the sheer level of social control that kept them this high from the very start.
Hey.
What?
We're the Final 2. I came into this game, and within the first couple of minutes, Rob and I had formed an alliance. And over the first couple of days, there was a lot of flirting going on, and it turned into something real.
Even when we got separated and weren't together, we were still able to work through it as a team. I mean, in a game where trust is fleeting, to have a partnership with someone, an alliance with someone that you can trust, that's huge.
And that's gonna be it. Those are the top 5 most powerful duos in Survivor history. Do you agree? Disagree? What should you change? Who else did I not mention that we should consider? Were Billy and Candace robbed? Shout out to my patrons for being the good cop to my bad. We're doing this until the end. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to buddy up on your way out, and I will see you in the next one. Once I cite this video as a reason to separate all duos in every season going forward. Unless I'm in the duo. Then, like, what's the big deal? It's just 2 people.
Boston Rob and Amber are gonna do it. I don't know when, but they're gonna do it. They've got the mat, the pillows, everything is in place, and I really wish those 2 the best of luck.
Rob, Jerry, Lex, Kathy, Alicia, Cheyenne, Big Tom, Rupert, Jenna, the tribe has spoken.
I love you with all my heart. Will you marry me?
Interesting dynamic that adds to this.